Hey, Juventine, welcome back to the All Juvecast. This is episode 160, and I'm joined by Luca and Daniel, and we're going to cover the match between Juve and Inter, where Juve, one of the wildest Derby d'Italias that I've seen, we get the win, but we still need help. And we've got eyes on, of course, Napoli Fiorentina right now, where it's sitting 2-0 for Napoli, and we're going to cover everything. Guys, how you guys doing?
Better than if we lost, so take a little positivity, right?
Yeah, for sure. We covered our end of the bargain, I guess, in an absolute wild one that we're going to cover, and then we're going to talk about PKs, officiating, all that. That's also come up in this Napoli Fiorentina match and whatnot. But this was a crazy derby, guys. We get the starting lineups, and honestly, I was probably just a little bit surprised. More than anything, 4-4-2, Bentancur, Quadrado. Not Bentancur Quadrado, Bentancur Rabiot as the two, and also Kulusevski in. Until it played out, started to make sense, but still, I probably would have had Arthur in there myself personally, but I probably wouldn't have just went with two midfielders just based on the way interplays and whatnot. But again, when we learned Kulusevski's role in this one, it kind of made sense. But what were your guys' thoughts on the lineup when it was first announced?
The Kulusevski one was odd, but as Luca pointed out to me yesterday, we were talking about he's going to drop deep and kind of cover the Brozovic position, make sure he doesn't have too much space to roam and do whatever he needs to do. Other than that, I figured it was pretty straightforward. I wasn't really surprised as much as we have had a rough season with Bentancur. I'm not really surprised Pirlo keeps going back to him. I don't know what's going on with Artur, but something seems to not be clicking there. I don't know about you, Luca.
No, like when it was strange. It was almost too strange to see no Morata and no Dybala. For me, there was some strategy going on. 100%. The moment I saw that, it's like he's either doing like he did initially, I think it was in the first Coppa tie, where he dropped Kulu to cover Brozovic, or he was just trying to flood the mid as much as he could to just like stop them, because that's where they took us in that in the league win that they had against us. So that was my thought initially, and that's actually what ended up happening. But it was, I wasn't displeased seeing Bentancur and Rabiot, because I knew if you're gonna flood that mid with Kulu like up top as like that attacking mid, you didn't need the other two guys to do too much. Just stand your spot in that pivot role, do your a nice one touch, disperse it forward, and then move up. That's it. And then do your defensive roles after. But obviously, even for Bentancur, that was a bit too much, right? So,
well, we get into the match here, and Juve kicks it off, and it looks pretty good. You could tell right off the bat, Kulusevski, he's just shadowing Brozovic, and the defenders are not allowing any of those forwards like Lautaro or Lukaku to even breathe. We were looking good. We were in control, but still trying to generate much, and it was a little bit tougher just because of when you use one guy, the Kulusevski, to shadow someone. Sometimes in the transition, he may not be in the positions he needs to be to really truly assist, and sometimes Ronaldo was kind of isolated. But we had a few opportunities. Kulusevski got himself in a couple good areas, being the trailing guy rather than the forward. Couldn't get anything in. And then 22nd minute, corner kick. Quadrado takes the corner kick, and Chiellini's screaming bloody murder. Ronaldo's down. It's just like a mess of bodies on the ground here, and you're thinking, what the hell? Play goes on. Finally stops. You see he's going to take a look. He goes over to take a look at this thing. So on initial review and watching it, I didn't think it was going to get called. Just because you see this all the time. I did think that he kind of was trying to sell it too. But the only saving grace did have a step on Darmian, which might have been to his advantage, as he did kind of shake him loose start to get around him. But guys, your thoughts on this PK?
I get, it was soft. Like you can't not deny that. Kalini definitely sold it, but we've seen him do that for years. The guy's a unit. There's no way he's gonna fall that easily with little Darmian on him. But it's a huge game. You're gonna do whatever you can for your team. So I can't fault him for it. He got a little lucky in the call, but as we saw, that wasn't the only controversial call. So we'll take it and move on, kind of thing.
Yeah. Luca, your thoughts on that call?
Watching it live, I thought we had a case because multiple guys went down and there was yelling, there was screeching. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's something. And you know what? At this point in the season, it's like, okay, play on. If they call it, they call it. When I saw him call it back, I was like, no fucking way. I was freaking out. I'm like, if he's going, that means it is a penalty. And then when I saw the actual slow, it was soft, right? But that's given. That's given in City A. So for me, it was like, if you don't give this is embarrassing because he did have the step on him, even if it was just a little he had the advantage. So the argument is there is that he could have easily gotten to the ball, right? So I'm thinking, yeah, he sold it. Yeah, it's Chiellini. He's gonna yell like a little girl, but the foul was there. It was intentional. Don't tell me it wasn't. So for me, that one, of probably all the three that went on in the game, that was the most certain in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, again, you see that jostling. You see it all the time on pretty much every corner kick. But the saving grace for him was he did have the step on Darmian and he was getting around him. So, I could see it. See it. I still felt like it wasn't, but that's contrary to all the rival fans and everybody else in the world because Juve gets every call, right? But CR, he steps up, he buries it. Okay, and there we are. We're 1-0 up. Things are looking good. Let's keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. Seemingly out of nothing. Not really anything too harmless. Looks like we're just going to get out of our area and everything's going to be fine. I wasn't even sure watching this play in the 35th minute how Lautaro even goes down or why he even goes down.
Right. Until you see it
watching it at full speed live. Yeah. And I'm just like, what just happened?
Yeah.
De Ligt stops play and pumps it out to the sideline. They start looking at it. And I'm watching this replay. And the first three angles, I'm looking at it like, what is he trying to do here? What's Lautaro do? Finally, on the fourth angle, I see De Ligt's tip of his cleat finally make contact with Lautaro's heel, and one of the spikes must have got caught in it because it kind of hooks too. And I'm just like, oh man, oh my god, it's brutal, But man, I had a feeling that one they were gonna call it for sure. When I saw that on the heel there, were you guys think of the same thing once you saw that one angle that they're gonna call it for sure?
As soon as he was going to go to VAR, I knew he was going to call it, regardless of what we thought or seen. You knew he was just going to give him one back, maybe because he felt it was a makeup call for the first penalty, whatever it was. But when you watch the replay a few times, Lautaro goes down, but it's so delayed.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys caught that, but he gets clipped or whatever, and then 5 seconds later he's crying about it.
Yeah, flops like a fish after.
At least if you're gonna sell it, at least sell it properly. I don't know. It was soft too, and De Ligt was kind of a weird, confused. Was he stepping towards him? Was he trying to walk? I don't know. The whole situation was odd to me.
Yeah. I do need to go back actually because CR didn't bury it. He got stopped. He buried the rebound.
Yeah, but that was a heart-stopping moment, by the way.
Yeah. I see it stopped. I'm like, oh no, but yeah, I buried the rebound. So Gotta make that correction. But on this one, this is a weird one. Luca, your thoughts on the Lautaro one? We just heard dance.
No, this one rubbed me the wrong way. As a defender, like for majority of my, let's say, youth, like put yourself in De Ligt's shoes. You're in the heat of the moment, blood's pumping, right? You're not entirely focused on every little detail. You have to try, obviously, as a professional. But if you're walking one way, and the guy in front of you just changed direction, how is it your fault? Like, where does this impede the play, or where you have made an error because you were walking one direction and the guy in front of you decided to change? How is it on him? Like, for me, that is like a complete nonsense call against the whole concept of having a referee. You're there to make sure that if the players make an actual, thought out error, if you did that on purpose to impede the other player, then it's a foul. In this case, I'm like, what the actual shit? What do you want him to do?
I know. I hear you on that. But also the other thing is like, you open up way too vast of a gray area if you start looking at just intentions.
True.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden you would have to apply that to every single foul and be like, well, in clear situations where it's like, man, he just like literally took this guy out, whether it was intentional or not, a foul is a foul. Right. So It's kind of like, I was looking at this thing in both ways. I'm like, man, I was like, that's why I said, I figured it was going to get called because it was a foul. Is really stupid how it came about. I agree with you completely, Luke. It was a stupid, clumsy little scenario that neither guy could really do a whole bunch about it. But again, if you watch those plays when guys are running back towards goal or whatnot, and they're jostling for position, one guy tries to cut inside of another. If you clip a guy's heels or feet, even if you're just trying to run and maneuver, it gets called because it is a foul.
Yeah,
it gets called because it is a foul, whether it's intentional or not. Some of them are intentional, but I'm saying if you're in those scenarios, I think you're opening up too big of an area. Unfortunately,
I think that gray area is what the issue is with VAR nowadays. It's too much, especially in Serie A. It's like, because at that point, I get it. If you have the ball and he tries crossing behind you and clips your ankle, then yes, because you're impeding the play. But if the guy is not involved in the play at all, like Lautaro is like 2 meters away from the ball, he's not getting there. He's got to be Superman to make it to that ball because he's got a guy in front of him. So for me, again, I know in this situation in Serie A, I knew he was going to call it back because obviously, but it's just frustrating because
it's frustrating.
It's ruining the game.
Absolutely.
But if that's not in the box, do they call that? I don't think so.
No, that's why it's
so you know what I mean? So it's the area of the like in the where it is on the pitch. That's the only reason why it got called.
Right.
If that's at center field, I don't think they call that.
Well, that's the thing is they wouldn't even review it.
Right. How many challenges did De Ligt put on Lautaro that deserved more of a yellow this game than like that? Yeah.
But that's another more of an issue with VAR and whatnot too, right? Though because they would have to factor that in and say, look, if this were to happen on the penalty area, like they wouldn't even look at this. So it's like in this particular scenario, they're just looking at it because of where it happened. But the refs got to kind of step in at some point and be like, oh man, like they have to draw a line somewhere. They have to create some type of divide, something like that. 100%. Both of these PKs though, man, that's big. Like for a big match like that, to make both of those calls. And maybe it was because of the one prior.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because of the one prior, right? Just see it wrapped up now. Napoli has defeated Fiorentina, so that's done. Obviously, we needed some help there. We have a very, very small chance now. Very, very small chance. We would need to win our last game. We need Hellas Verona to basically take points from Napoli, or we would need Milan to basically drop both remaining matches. So yeah, still need a lot of love, but yeah, this is frustrating. Frustrating with VAR, but nonetheless, this gets called. Lukaku steps up. He scores on the PK, makes it 1-1. Pissed off, but again, we just got to continue. Got to keep going. The guys do, and out of nowhere again, like Kulishevsky gets the ball deep, tries to make a cross through, deflects off the Inter defender, and just hits, just drops backwards towards our midfield, and Cuadrado comes steaming in here out of nowhere, hammers its thing. It takes a deflection off Eriksson, I believe, and right through Handanovic. It was like I was losing my mind, but it was kind of weird because I was like, how did that go in? It looked like it was right at him, and it pretty much was, but it was just the change of direction. And
he was diving. Yeah.
And Handanovic just couldn't deal with it. We're back up 2-1. I'm pumped. We get to half. Honestly, I was feeling pretty good at halftime. I like the way the guys were playing. That drive and determination that we haven't seen enough this season. And it makes a difference. Absolutely it does. And we just, man, I was feeling pretty good at halftime. The only thing I wasn't feeling good about was Bentancur, really. I thought all the guys were looking good. Rabiot was solid. Cuadrado. Danilo, the way Danilo plays the fullback position is so different than everybody else on this squad. He's been massive, and when he's back there, it's different, man. He's not afraid to jump in, get involved offensively, run some give and goes, just create some havoc. Makes a big difference, the amount of support you get from him, and he's been doing a great job defensively too. So the ability that opens up to free up Cuadrado further up the pitch makes so much sense. And we saw this earlier, and it's not just Pirlo's fault. We couldn't get it often enough because we had a lot of injuries to cover for, so we couldn't go with it as much as we should have, in my opinion. But anything that stood out to you guys in the first half that obviously, other than the awesome intensity and focus and determination the guys were showing?
Yeah, like
being too harsh on Bentancur?
No, not at all. But no, you hit it perfect right on the head. That you haven't seen this type of fight in this team, more than a handful of times this season. Maybe Lazio, the second leg against Porto, they showed it at times. Like, you just need, if they showed that more throughout the season, who knows what this team was capable of. And I know we've had injuries and COVID and Pirlo's, trying different things and all that. But, Bentancur was obviously not good, as you mentioned. Other than that, honestly, I thought Kulu was pretty good in the first half. He got into some dangerous spots, as you mentioned. And it just goes to show how he's better, not up top, kind of hiding behind, your striker, gives him a little more space to do, get creative and find little pockets. I think, if we can get him more in those positions, we'll be able to see more what he was like last season. But decent first half anyways.
Yeah. Luca, your thoughts?
I mean, Dan covered most of the basic stuff there. I think, again, this might have been one of the calmest I've ever been at halftime because, well, before the Cuadrado goal, I was a little nervous because obviously we still didn't have the lead. But after that went in, I was like, okay, wow. Because like you guys are saying, we actually are playing our game and they showed up. Meanwhile, Inter was like not in it until we got that, until second half, they were not in it. We had them first half. So I was not ecstatic, but I was very content, right? For me, Bentancur was just, there's one moment, I'm not sure if it was in the first half. He is on the line. He's alone. He looks to his left. I think it was on the right side. Looks to his left. He tries to play the cross ball. He drills it right in the middle, completely botches his shot.
Yeah. And
they have three guys sitting in the middle. I lost it here. I'm like, if you can't make that pass, hit it off the guy, get the throw in. It's things like that. We talked about this before, Al, and we'll probably cover it later. For those saying that, it's on the coach, it's on the mentality the coach is impeding or the strategy, this right here, and I've said it on Twitter, and I'm going to say it now, it's not on the coach to make a player mess up a pass. If that's completely on him and his level of focus and his ability at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We did want to talk about it. We could talk about it now. There's been a reason I've, really been calling out players for a lot of this year. Is just, number one, this drive, this determination, this focus that we all loved in the first half of this match has been non-existent for a lot of this season.
Yeah.
For a lot of it. And if you do want to put it on the coach, that's fine. A lot of it does have to do with the coach, but a lot of it also has to do with the individuals. Because at the end of the day, when you are dealing with, and people want to say that it's excuses to use injuries and COVID or whatnot, but the reality is, if you're not getting that drive and determination out of these guys, you can't act as a manager properly and bench a guy and be like, I'm going to put somebody in there that does have that, because you're handcuffed. At the same time, you're trying to match these objectives and these expectations or whatnot, and the guys just haven't stepped up. And I've been calling our vets out for a lot of this year because I felt that they haven't been answering the call, so to speak, and being the leaders, and it should always start with those guys. And it hasn't been. It's been starting with guys like Chiesa. You know what I mean? That has always had that determination, that hunger, that drive, that focus. And when you're looking across the lineup and you're not getting it from a Sandro, even Chiellini, bless his heart, at times, you're not getting it, right? Bonucci, you're not getting it. It makes a difference. We had a string there where we weren't getting it from Ronaldo, our lead guy. That makes a big impact on the team. And when you look at this game today, it was the exact opposite, man. And even the one before it. And Buffon said it best after that Sassuolo match. I saw a Juve I like, a working class Juve. That's the team we need to be. Mm-hmm. We need to have that work ethic that we were always known for. We have to drill it into the guys again. These guys have to do their job. And yeah, when you're watching a player make countless amounts of decisions that are poor, it's hard to just put it solely on the system, man. It's just in that position that Luca's talking about, he could have ate the ball. You had three guys surrounded by him, there's nobody around, whatnot. Eat it, try and take a foul or whatnot, you're out on the sideline, to just pump it into the middle where they have midfielders. And then all of a sudden just freaking counterattacking us. You got to be better.
Yeah.
Anything would have been better than that. Another thing we started to notice again in decision making is everybody really rags on this playing from the back. But during this one, I heard Lunga, yelling, and it was Pirlo, and it was long. Just clear it, long, get it out, regroup, restructure. And you know what? Even if your system is play at the back, whatnot, it's identifying the times to do it and when not to, and just making that call on the pitch. It does come down to these guys a bit. So, yeah, Bentancur was just on a shocker. And he got an early card in this one. I think around the 20th minute, he had an early card. Kulishevsky got an early card too. So this was a little bit concerning there in terms of that. And then 54th minute, a play that it looked like it wasn't even going to get called, as Bentancur steps in on Lukaku there. Looks like plays going the other way. The ref seems to just be standing there and then finally blows it dead. And I'm like, now you're going to call it? So it almost seemed like he was calling it for the reaction. Okay, so reaction call. All of a sudden, he flashes the card. So he flashes the card to Bent. And I'm watching this challenge, and I'm like, it's a foul, but not a yellow. Not a yellow. He doesn't get ball, and it was a lot of shoulder to shoulder, but Serie A in general has been like had such low tolerance for anything coming from the side or the back.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've just been like this year, they've been ridiculous with their calls. It's just always in favor of the attacking player. This one was just strange though, because I'm like, man, if you're gonna drop that in a big game, like be 100% sure. It was just the whole thing was weird, but this was bad. This was a bad second yellow to give to Benta. Thoughts on this one, guys? So
it kind of sums up his whole season. You know, honestly, it's just been poor decision after poor decision, and I know it was a soft second yellow, but I feel like if that wasn't given, Pirlo probably would have left him in, and it would have happened at some point. You know.
Yeah.
It's
Georg, I like that one, Georg. Lukaku goes down quickly for a guy who eats raw.
Fucking George.
Luka, soft call, eh?
Oh, god damn. Again, this goes back to like I always try to put myself. Again, I'm just some freaking kid playing soccer with his friends for my entire life, but I put myself in their shoes, right? If this is a foul I'm making, you know, if I'm thinking I have a yellow card and I'm making a shoulder-to-shoulder challenge, I'm thinking I'm safe. So he's not the last player. You know, I haven't gotten any warnings since because Eric had mentioned it to us. He said it was an accumulation of fouls, and that's usually what gets you to a yellow, right? You get a warning, you get a second, and it's like, here, yellow, right? In this case, after his first yellow, Benta didn't really, like, aside being a terrible player, he didn't really make any big fouls or challenges that were like debatable. So either he told the ref to fly a kite at one point that maybe gave him a warning for that. I saw this and I'm like, even though they read, I think my stream, they showed it in the replay, and I'm like, what? I'm like, no, that's the player on the bench that got it, not him. I'm thinking this is insane. There's no way in hell this is a second yellow, and I lost it. I completely lost it. My emotions just rose so high. It was beyond frustrating. At this point, I'm like, you know what, season, call it. They don't want us to win. I don't care how shit we played in the season itself. This right here was garbage.
Yeah. So here we are going down a man. We're up 2-1, down a man. Kulishevsky comes out for McKennie. That's the sub instantly. And we get about 15 minutes where we start to see it's going to be full on Catenaccio here. Time to lock it down. Taking me back to 90s Italian national side here. And then all of a sudden, 70th minute, Morata subbed in for Cristiano. Demiral coming in for Chiesa. Now you're on full scale Catenaccio, 70 minutes. So we're looking at 20 minutes of full on lockdown. And the Ronaldo sub, for me, when I was watching it live, I didn't tweet it or put anything out there because I just didn't really want to deal with it at the time, to be honest, because this match is so big. But I was just so focused on it. But I was saying to myself in my mind, I would probably get Morata out there because honestly, Ronaldo, you could see it in him and the game changes. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to ask a guy just to go out there and run his bag off defensively, and we were probably going to go into a shell in our own half, just get a guy that'll have fresh legs, number one, and won't really necessarily mind doing it. I do understand you taking away your serious goal threat, but what are you really going to do at this point, right? I was feeling pretty confident about how we were shutting them down, so I thought I was okay with it. I saw people obviously naturally with what happened later, which we'll get into. People got in a fluff about it because obviously Ronaldo's now on the bench. But at the time, how'd you guys feel about the subs?
I thought it was the right move, to be honest. I was surprised that we didn't see any Artur even to kind of hold the possession a bit because we were just running around, right? We were trying to shut them down. I was kind of surprised he didn't get any minutes, but the Ronaldo sub, when you think about it at first, it's kind of shocking because, you know, Ronaldo's got to play every game full 90 every game, but it was the right call because you know Ronaldo's not going to chase. He's not going to pressure the defenders when they have the ball or the midfield, whatever. But it turned out well. It could have gone a completely different way, but Pirlo, I guess, did the right thing.
Yeah. Luca, at the time, your thoughts on the subs?
Well, the original Kulu one was I think it was granted. That was given.
Yeah.
Everybody saw that one coming. Again, I think Weston, just because of his work rate and I think maybe his health, was the obvious choice. But like Dan said, I think Artur should have maybe had a stint in there, maybe because he's still nursing that thigh issue that he's had for long term. I think that's the only reason we didn't see him. But for me, right away, I saw Chris come off, and I'm like, good, because the 5-10 minutes he was there with our man down, he was barely chasing. And then when he did chase and put in the foul, he almost got a yellow for it. So I'm like, you know what? He's already on a suspension probably for next game if he grabs a yellow now because he's terrible at tackling. So I'm like, you know what? Take him off. People got mad about not seeing Dybala, and you know what? Yes, I was mad too. I'm an avid, pusher of that. But Morata was a good choice. I think he will track back a little more. Not that he did. I think he should have more. We don't have to get into that. But I think at that moment, I was totally okay with it. Chiesa was weird. That for me was odd. I think I would have kept probably Chiesa more and maybe taken off Cuadrado, which is a bit, now that we look at it, big picture was a bit.
I don't know if I was going at that point, but
which way do you think
another defender? But at the same time, you're taking one from the level ahead. That kind of gives them a little bit of an easier route to get to that back line, right? So you're opening up a little bit more space for them. We were going to be pinned one way or another.
Right.
He just wanted, I think he just banked on it and wanted another guy at the back for obviously aerial duels, anything like that, right? So it kind of made sense one way or another, whether you keep someone in a higher line or the back, we were going to be pinned.
Yeah,
it's just the way it is. Right. Honestly, the Dybala thing, I saw that being posted out there too. And the same as Ronaldo coming off, the same as getting Morata in, the same as Kulu coming off and then McKennie coming in. It becomes team above individuals, and it always is. Right. And the changes that were made sense to me, and they had to happen, and is what it is. Of course, what ends up ensuing is in the 82nd minute, Chiellini on an own goal. Ruled off originally, watching it live on a foul on Lukaku. Goes to review, and it looks like Chiellini got caught trying to sell it. Chiellini got caught trying to sell one. There was nothing there. It was a valid own goal, and we're locked in 2-2. Absolutely livid with this. Frustrating because I feel like Bonucci didn't even have to do that. Chiellini. Sorry.
Yeah, he didn't have to. That's why I think, you know what? As much as we're gonna praise Chiellini and De Ligt, they had a great game. I'm not gonna deny that, but I think this is where it's like that little glimpse of thinking, okay, you know what? You could see his time's coming, because this could have passed a couple of years ago when he was younger and able to do it. But now, after so many years of seeing him, I love him to death. But now it's like he's pushing his luck, and that won't be accepted, especially with VAR now. They could see everything. So that I didn't even argue it. I saw it. I think it was silly on his end, because I think if he would have put up with Lukaku, he could have, taken on that challenge. And it was actually him that puts it in too. So I think, end of the day, he could have defended that better. So
yeah. I think if you watch this game, you see how much Chiellini was actually doing that. Yeah, and you'd see him like smirk back at the bench and stuff like that.
And we love it. We love it, right?
He was doing it so much, and he just like. On this play, I'm like, man, you didn't even have to do that.
Yeah, that's it.
And he was just like, it was almost like he was just having a blast doing it. They just kept doing it over and over, because he was all over the pitch. He was selling these fouls and whatnot, and going in there and like throwing his arms up. And I'm like, man, he's obviously made a living of doing that. Like, just being an absolute pain in the ass to play against, but. On that play, I was just like, "Oh man, we just need the solidity, man. Just don't chance it, don't do stuff like that." And like, it's frustrating. De Ligt also spoke to things. He just said, as a defender, it's reactions and reaction times and stuff. And he goes, extremely difficult. But for the most part, those guys were animals back there, Chiellini and De Ligt.
Yeah, 100%.
This game. So this one hurt, and it stung so fucking bad. But the guy had an absolute game. Daniel, anything to add to that before we carry on? Like in Chiellini?
Just wanted to touch on, we mentioned Demiral coming in late on. I was kind of surprised, and maybe it's telling a bit that Bonucci wasn't the one called on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I agree with that, because you think experience, right? You're thinking if everyone's going to make a stupid mistake.
I just think that now Pirlo and is finally realizing maybe we trust Demiral a little more than Bonucci's time is up. So I could only imagine Bonucci being a little upset that he didn't get to play at all. So maybe now it's Demiral's time to kind of step up, and I'm sure he's going to get some more playing time with these two next games. But I thought it was interesting. He ended up going to Demiral and not Bonucci.
I'm glad he did.
I think again, and it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting thought and whatnot. I was like putting it more towards what he was expecting to see, which was the crossing, because I put Demiral in there on aerials ahead of Bonucci any day of the week.
True,
and twice on Sunday. So it might have been that, but yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, I don't know with Bonucci there, because he was he not slated to be one of the starters in this one too? Bonucci was I thought projected, and he was going to be one of the starters. Hey, I'm not saying he should have been.
No, obviously not. I think we all agree on that. But
it's interesting to see down the line, down the pecking order, whatnot.
Exactly.
And I think it's fair, honestly, for what we've gotten for quite some time. People are still making shouts for Bonucci on ball playing ability and stuff like that, but it's the trade-off. When you're looking at the first job of that guy, I don't know. Not for me. Not for me, anyways. 86 minute. What a fucking game, man. What a fucking game. We're just so here we are. We're 2-2. And we're just man, now we got CR on the bench. So the uproar is there. Where's this goal going to come? We need to score. What are we going to do? And now we're pinned back. We're down 10 men. Again, seemingly out of not really anything. Cuadrado gets the ball out wide, takes on his man, and then cuts into the box. And goes down, and at first I'm just thinking oh my God, man, come on. But I see it called right away. Yeah. Called right away. And I'm like, no way. My initial gut reaction, they'll look at it and not call it a foul. That's my initial gut reaction, because I didn't see anything in there on that one. It happened so fast and whatnot, but man, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. For me, it was just, again, just another softie. I think we got really, really lucky on that one. You guys want to throw some thoughts out there on that PK?
I don't know what is Perisic supposed to do there? I don't really know. Is he just supposed to let him kind of cut in and run at goal? I don't know. We'll take it, obviously, but I think that's a bit of luck, no doubt.
Yeah. Luca, softie?
I didn't even see the build up to this, because I was on my phone just going rampant, losing it on my friends. So I will admit that I didn't see the build up. When I heard that he go, I was like, what? I had a bit of a stroke, and then I saw the callback. For me, the emotions were too high. I was not being very realistic at the moment. I just cared that we were I'm like, who's taking the penalty shot? But looking at it on replays, yeah, obviously it was soft. But if that's your argument, so was all the other calls in this game. And you know what? If you balance out the scales, I think that was deserved for us, because we, even with 10 men, they barely pushed on us. And you know what? They didn't want the win more than we did. And props to them. They took the league. We messed it up. But yesterday it was our game, and I think the ref just made it what it was. Yeah. I think. Take out the ref, take out everything that was bull call. I think it would have been a 1-0 for us, maybe. But I think this was just justice for who was actually playing properly. and actually playing better yesterday. I think they didn't mind losing. I think it was just more for their you know, they were doing it for their ego. We needed the win. We wanted the win, and I think that was the difference.
When you're looking at this and you're looking at this call too, like with Cuadrado and whatnot, it's like this match turned into it just got so out of hand from the referee standpoint and VAR, everything, like, and they just ended up making one after another of correction calls.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like it was just like a game where they were just making corrections. And actually, now looking at the chat here, Anthony, he goes, since the ref gave the Lautaro penalty, you have to give the one-on-one. It's called the precedence, right? Game was saying the same thing.
Yep.
Game has been the referee compensating for one bad decision after another. And it turned into just an absolute shit show. But here we are. Okay. And getting a PK. Cuadrado picks it up immediately.
Yeah.
Upon getting it. Steps up. Takes it.
That was a good hit.
Buries it.
That was a good hit, yeah.
Dude, it was a hell of a PK, man. Curling inside net. Love it. Love it. I lose my mind. So paint the picture. I'm sitting there with my newborn in one arm. I got my 2-year-old in the other. She's watching Elmo or something on her iPad, and I got the 2 kids, and I'm losing it.
Where's the beer, Al? Is it in the, like, between your legs?
I want to jump up. I want to scream, and I can't really because baby's sleeping in my arms and whatnot. And I'm just like, this is amazing. And but dude, Cuadrado, this was the one time I was just like, fucking captain-esque material in that moment.
Yesterday was that game for him.
Actually, he was stellar this game, but you know, like when he had got the armband there, we talked about this a bit, like, because they do it based on appearances and seniority and stuff like that, and they'll hand out the armbands. But we were just asking a question at one point, I remember on this podcast, of, you know, can you see this guy as an actual captain and whatnot? And everybody has different beliefs and sees players differently in terms of, you know, what a captain should look like or whatnot and how they should act and whatnot. But that was captain-esque shit there from Cuadrado. That was awesome. That was awesome. And that guy was massive yesterday. Absolutely massive. Cuadrado, your guys' thoughts on that whole scenario, that moment, and just him in general.
Yeah, he's just mad respect after, getting the penalty and just, grabbing the ball right away, with confidence. He stepped up, didn't waste any time, kind of, just did his thing. I like that. I like that he didn't, he didn't discuss with anyone, okay, who's taking it kind of thing. He just, this one's mine, I'm taking it and let's go kind of thing. But yeah, he was, I guess I got to eat my words. He was pretty immense yesterday. Can't deny that. But as Al mentioned, I know I saw this on Twitter yesterday. He's better up the pitch, 100%. He's just not.
There's no argument there.
Not a right back, and we can all agree on that. So, captain wise, sure, if you need to, I guess. I don't know.
Dan right now is having a hard time saying these words.
He's done well at right back, but like for me personally, I just said like he's just not a first option right back for me. He's a great utility player that could fill in at multiple positions, like all along that side, from the mid to a winger to a right back. Like he could fill in anywhere there. So he's massive as a utility player. But is he a first option right back? That's our question. And for me personally, like, no, I do like him here with that right side when Danilo's behind him and Cuadrado gets that freedom all day. And we get the solidity of Danilo at the back.
Right. Solid.
But yeah, it's as far as captain material goes, that was the first time I could honestly say I was like, yeah, you know what? I see it. I could see it in that moment. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Luca, your thoughts?
Right now, Monica's like listening and she's like, I told you. You know what? I haven't been, like hitting on him. He's had a great season. He's been consistent. I'll give him that. I will stick to what you know, what Al just said, he's not my first choice right back. He never will be because it's not his natural position. But if you got someone like Danilo behind him, definitely put him up. Definitely put him forward. He's more of a threat there. And you know what? I said it before. I'm like, the first thing I was worried about on that last call was who's taking the PK. I'm thinking maybe Morata, but even Morata, it's like, you know, his confidence is at an all-time low sometimes. So I was very impressed that he took it, and he took it well. Like that was a better hit PK than Ronaldo did and Insigne did this morning. So I was very impressed with that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, you got to think about it. If that one moment Al tells you that he's got material, what about like the 90 moments that De Ligt had in the game? Like, what does that tell you?
Well, no, yeah, that's the thing. And for me, everybody has their personal preferences, beliefs on whatnot. There's a lot saying that De Ligt is too young still or whatnot. So even there's people even challenging De Ligt as a captain or not. But for me, like, I'd love nothing more than that guy to be a captain at some point. I hope he stays with us long, long time. He's incredible, man. And in this match, he was. So a little unlucky there on that one PK. Outside of that, outstanding performance from him. And then, we'll get into basically we see the match out. Brozovic in the 91st ends up getting sent off. Helps us even furthermore seal it, taking a man away from them. And that's it. We get this game over with. We win it, and we do our part. We needed some help. We've already discussed, because the match was wrapping up live at the start of this pod, and Napoli beat Fiorentina. So it really comes down to one match for them. We need Hellas Verona to steal some points from them in that final match. Milan would have to drop too. It's not looking good, not looking promising, despite the fact that we had this big win, that's the bittersweet reality of this big win yesterday for me. I was so pumped, jacked for the win, but I couldn't help but think about this team and how many times we showed up for matches flat. Absolutely flat. And system, tactics, all that. A lot of it there's matches we had some draws where you would get through there and pull through if you just had this kind of work ethic and drive and determination. It comes down to all those bad points that we dropped,
It just hurts because last weekend was like, that game was, drubbing was absolutely avoidable. That one, I think that one hurts the most, almost as bad as the first Fiorentina loss, the 3-0 loss. That one was, those two were probably the two worst.
Whoa. I'll take a slapping to Milan this season more than a slapping to Fiorentina, because at least one made sense,
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, we're watching the Benevento match when we have like 24 or 5 attempts and like 9 or 10 on target, and we can't bag a winner.
But again, I'll look back at that Fiorentina game. How many fouls were not called for us? There's like pictures going around now because of yesterday's, controversial game. There was some fouls that game that I remember. Remember the goalkeeper in like the 80th minute cleaned out Bernardeschi and there was nothing for it? I think Nedved lost his shit. Like, there's some calls that people are saying, like Juventus has this coming. Where do you come out saying these things? Like, if that's how you're gonna, especially now when we have VAR, nothing should be up for grabs. Like, it should be black and white, and not to make that's not a callback to the team. I'm just saying it should be black and white in the sense that yesterday, De Ligt steps on him. It's not a foul, anywhere else in the field, but because he did it, it's a penalty shot. Why is it any time in the others, the rest of the season, this wasn't applied? There's always this lack of consistency. And you know what? I'm not going to start saying, like we deserved more. We didn't. But I think this season, there was so much. I remember like halfway through the season, I was shouting just crap at the refs every game because it was beyond frustrating how many times we didn't get like calls, like day and night calls that you would expect. Even in the Champions League, it was really shocking this season. Really shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there was a part early on where we were really, really unlucky with calls and everything like that and decisions, and it did change some of the outlooks there. But again, it's that constant battle and argument that's going on. That's system, setup, tactics, or players.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think it's a combination of everything, really. Really. There are times Pirlo has gotten it wrong for sure. His subs, I think we can all agree throughout the season, substitutions have been a bit odd at times and sometimes way too delayed. You know, you're looking for that change, that impact, that adapting from your manager, and it just hasn't quite been there. But in terms of the players, yeah, and even going back to a guy like Bentancur, for instance, you know, man, again, playing central midfield, whether it's a two-man pivot or even this three-man midfield that people want that has you as a Mezzala there, box to box, it's not a drastic difference. Just like a bit of the role changes and whatnot, but all the abilities and skills and stuff, like you still have to apply the same skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what spot in the middle of the park you're playing, your possession's got to be good. Your decision-making's got to be good. You have to move the ball accurately and well. And you got to support your forwards there. And there was instances in this game. He was stepping up and he was getting the ball, and his execution was just pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. It just wasn't there. On contrast there, and man of the match, guys, let's just get that out of the way. Quadrado for me.
Oh yeah.
Quad, easily quad. Shout outs to Delic for me. Chiellini could be in there for shout. And Rabiot.
Rabiot. I was gonna say Danilo, but Rabiot too. I've completely forgot about him. Holy crap!
Yeah, Danilo had a good game. That was, and this is the thing, right? Is we've actually had quite a few matches. Like it hasn't all been so bad. Like we've had quite a few matches where it's like you've got a lot of shouts for man of the match. You know, so it's not all that bad, but there's a lot of matches, and a lot of the big ones that we're picking out here, you have multiple guys that are not at the level that they showed against Inter yesterday.
Yep. And
no matter who you play when you're in those games where you have like 4 or 5 guys at your lineup that just look uninterested, you're going to struggle. It doesn't matter who you play. And we've had that more often than not, unfortunately. You know?
Like, let's discuss Sandro yesterday, because I feel like it's overlooked at how poorly he actually displayed himself. There was a lot of turnovers that Bentancur gave, but Sandro, there was like it was a battle between both of them. Like, who's next? And like they're looking at each other like my turn. You know, it was shocking to see, because I'm looking the other side and Danilo's making the same pass, but he's not fucking it up. Like it's getting to the player.
Yeah,
something is just to see his decline. It's really shocking.
Sandro's.
Yeah, it's been pitiful. Like when he joined, man, I was like, wow, this guy is leaps beyond. Like he's a gazelle. He's covering the field back and forth, nonstop stamina, like you wouldn't believe. Now it's like the guy can barely make it back on a 2-man, 1 and 2, and he can't even cover his man. Like the Lick's covering his butt half the time. Chiellini, sorry.
Yeah, Sandro yesterday, it was frustrating, and not just yesterday, just in general. Like you watch a guy like Danilo, and this is why I say, like I put the tweet out there yesterday, he plays it so much differently than all the other guys that we get. And number one, he's got the skill set and the ability to do so, because Alex Sandro is heavily one-footed. Heavily one-footed. Yeah. There were instances yesterday, an easy right foot pass would get it into Bentancur, who actually broke his lines, and we could have turned an attack. He can't make it. It's either left-footed outside of the boot, to put it in there, but he can't do it. So we end up going backwards and losing that opportunity where we have just like slid in their lines. Bentancur was in great position. Our forwards were advanced. Something could happen. He can't do it. He can't do it. And it's so frustrating. And the most frustrating thing about it is there's really no options.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where it comes down to, like, people are going to shout out like, okay, yeah, Sandro had a bad game, but who plays there instead? Eric is going to be out here saying put Bernadeschi, and he's not wrong. I think at least the stamina and the fight will be
But the last
there.
time we saw Berna there, it was an absolute mess.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. He'll have the stamina, but he's not a defender, so I don't see him pulling that off because, like, yeah, okay, Sandro's had some shockers, but let's not forget like the line clearance he had against, I think it was Sassuolo. Like that, he's made some good like big saves in the last 2-3 games that I've like that could have been game deciding saves. So for that, I give it to Sandro because he has the experience. But it, again, just like everything else this season, falls back to our management where it's like there's a hole. It hasn't been fixed since since we got rid of Spinazzola. Now what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
that's frustrating on Mercado where you get rid of 2 fullbacks and shorthand yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
That position. But we've been doing that with the midfield for God knows how long. Overlooking these gaps. The Sandro thing, it's frustrating, but again, it's just a lack of options. And then again, you can go. This is where it was. You're kind of torn when you're in your mind trying to see how you would even line up this Juve in these big matches because your right side is on lockdown with Danilo and Quadrado. Then you're going to suffer a bit on the left because you've got Chiesa who excels more on the right side.
Yeah.
Now you've got to put him on the left because you've just locked down your right. And then you're going to have Sandro behind him where you're going to lose some of that offensive support. So do you spread it out then and go Danilo as left back, Quadrado right back? You could put Chiesa ahead of Quad. Then again, who goes on the left side? You've got hit and miss out of Kulusevski when he's been put out there on those outside positions. It's hit and miss. You've got Bernardeschi, who's hit and miss career-wise with Juventus. Like, just being honest.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's hit and miss career-wise. It's this juggling act, right?
Well, even that, then if you do that, then you're leaving gaps on the right side because both Chiesa and Quadrado are going to want to play offensive. Who's covering back?
Yeah.
You try to switch one thing and then you create another problem. So that's why I think this summer they just need to go out, whether they keep Sandro as a center back option, which is possible, I don't know, for depth, whatever, but they need a left back that goes
100%
without question.
But see, this is where I'm curious.
And here we go. Let's get into this. Like Georg comments here. A minute of silence for the forgotten man.
Where did he go? He started off the season like being one of our main options. Like I know Sandro was gone, so we didn't really have anybody. But Pirlo just forgot about him. Like I think, obviously, he was still young and he did make a lot of mistakes. But in the Coppa Italia, he made some key appearances. And I think if you really want to just challenge Sandro, put him on. Put the kid on, like at least he'll put some pressure on Alex to make less mistakes or get his shit together.
This is just me. I think when we were more of the 3-5-2, it was easier for Pirlo to have the confidence to play for a Volta.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That I agree.
I think when we started to go more with the 4-man back, there was a couple struggles there with Volta in the true 4-man back, and I think he went to his safety net, especially as the way the inconsistency was happening and the results were going. Points were being lost and whatnot. I think Sandro became the safety net. He has for how many years now, right? Whether it's right or wrong. Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely matches from that could have gotten minutes and could have at least continued to grow or whatnot. Frabotta has also been heavily linked with moves away from Juve too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I don't know. You know, it's a weird one.
I'm not sure if it's because of the move, because a lot of people are, that's what they're going to be saying on the Twitter feed. They all think it's because it's linked, but I think it's because the U23s were having a push. And even Dragusin, he hasn't been in the lineup because I think we have most of our players, fit recently. So I think that's majorly why. I think they weren't even being called up. So maybe that's why we haven't seen him. And that doesn't really shock me. So I think that's also a factor, not just because he didn't want to play him, but I think he just wasn't available.
Yeah. And again, your lineup gets healthy. Everybody gets healthy. And again, the importance of all the matches and Pirlo just not having that confidence. So I think there's a lot of factors there. Should Frabotta have gone? I think honestly, even if you just look at the body of work, it's hit and miss.
Yeah,
you're right.
It was hit and miss, right? But I think there were some matches there. He could have probably taken some minutes. But whatever, Sandro's had an insane amount of minutes for how many years now. So we just been dealing with it, right? I want to get back on Rabiot because we didn't. We started to kind of dive in, but we didn't truly dive in on Rabiot. Rabiot was solid in this one. He's actually been solid past couple, but even in the last one, it's weird with him because even through the course of one match, this one I actually enjoyed his play throughout. But even in some of his better performances, there's quite a few moments that are mind-boggling, like the shit he does. He literally takes you from the best to the worst, sometimes in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of the frustration with him and whatnot. I think everybody is in agreement that he's talented, no doubt. And on his day, I think he's our best midfielder on his day.
Yeah.
I think he's the best one we have when he's on like he was there, But the problem is the consistency, right? That's been the issue.
And the salary. Louis is going to get mad at me if I don't bring it up, but salary.
Well, I'm going to let you guys go out on Rabiot. I'm going to sit back on this one. And,
go for it, Dan.
Shout out Louis. I hope you're watching. But we understand Rabiot's making a lot of money, but at least he's available. Ramsey's not available 90% of the season. And the thing is, and I know this is probably a bad comparison, but when Rabiot plays for France, does he not shine? He gets called. He's playing.
Very much does. Yeah.
But that's the problem. So I understand Rabiot's inconsistent. I agree with you 100%. But if he has maybe a decent partner beside him when, not Bentancur turning the ball over every 2 minutes, and, he's playing with the likes of a Conte or a Pogba, he's able to flourish. He's allowed to play more of his game. He's allowed to carry. He's allowed to get involved offensively. When he's trying to cover for, the guy beside him, it kind of takes away from that. And I know he turns it over himself too. And sometimes he makes, not great decisions, but you can't deny that he's, McKinney started strong, but throughout the season, he's probably been our best midfielder, as Al mentioned. And, he's definitely talented. He just needs to figure it out when he's, sometimes I don't know. It's a mind thing. I don't know.
I see this. I really, really, really like that. I'm glad you said it. But not everybody's going to come after you and say, but Bentancur plays good with Uruguay?
Uruguay,
yeah. So the national level, that's the argument for like both of them, right? But the thing is, for me, is that last season, for the end, Rabiot was day and night above everybody else at one point. Even, Bentancur was slipping at the end. Even at the beginning of this season, he was our best midfielder until Artur came in and had like that stint as well. Rabiot started off very well. And he's had, and I've said it many times, he's had big goals in big games, which unlike maybe McKennie, none of our midfielders have. So for those simple reasons, I've loved his contribution. I've always thought he's had a lot to offer since he came. We've just been waiting for him to show it.
Yeah.
And like Al said, it comes down to consistency. But for me, when people bring up the salary, it's not on him. He negotiated for it, just like any other person trying to get the best out of a deal. It's the management that we're stupid enough to say, "Here you go. Here's $7 million a season." No, like that's not on him. If someone says, "Here's $7 million," you're not going to say no. Take me to $5. I'm only worth $5. fucking hell is that?
True.
I think, like, just my own opinion of Rabiot is when we first signed him, I was so hyped up about him. You know, and his preseason with us, he was unbelievable.
Unbelievable, right?
He was unbelievable
Yeah.
to the point where I said, like, I could, and he's got the traits and the abilities to literally play in all those spots, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I just thought, like, man, this guy's going to be our best in the middle if he keeps going this way. And then the start of the season hit, and Sarri went with the usual suspects.
SK6,
So
Pjanic,
yeah,
Matuidi.
and Matuidi, yeah.
So he went with the usual suspects, and Rabiot didn't get in there for a while.
And
when he did,
he wasn't good.
It wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
But then the end of the season, like, there was a little shift point there where all of a sudden Rabiot just came on.
He went off, yeah.
And he was like, unreal. It's like, okay, that's what we're waiting for. And then this season, you're like, okay, Rabiot's really gonna get her going. And then it's like, he's here, he's not, he's here, he's not. Sometimes in a matter of minutes, oh yeah, he's gonna light up this game. Oh geez, he's costing us here. I think honestly with him, I think it's just mental.
What formation does the France team play? Does anybody know what formation France uses?
I think they're a 4-2-3-1. I think.
Because I know that 4-3-3
uses one holder above the defenders and then two ahead.
Okay.
Because like you'll usually have three that are in there.
Yeah, because we know last year
ahead of the D.
I think at the beginning of last year, I think when you saw the usual suspects come out for Saudi, I was like, you know what? I know Rabiot has the traits for almost any spot, but I think in that 4-3-3, it took him a while to really find what he was good at. He was good on that left side, on that third mid. But this year, I think he's really shown himself more again on that left side when he's pushing up more. So I think it's just a question of finding just a good pairing with him, because I think Bentancur is not it. And just, having the support there, because it sounds silly, but he does well with Ronaldo on that left. And we've seen it, several times where he's gone up that wing and, put in either a good cross or a hell of a shot on net. So I think he's
from the right side too, cutting in.
Yes, cutting in. Yeah, you gotta cut in.
It's weird, man. Like at the start, I was like, man, maybe we should be getting him on the right side, because, like, do you remember the goal he scored? I'm pretty sure it was against Milan.
Yeah, that was
insane run from half. Come in there, and he's had some brilliant moments off the right side too. I think left or right, he'll be fine. But I think the biggest thing for him is the mentality. I think he's just he fades in and out, and there's nothing stopping. This is the frustrating part about this match against Inter. There's nothing stopping this team from playing like that throughout this season. There's nothing stopping this team from putting out the determination and level of focus, having it at that level. Nothing. If anything, with the guys, the names that we have, we should be playing like that all the time. At times, we were only seeing it when Buffon was in net. And that's frustrating, and that's why this game was bittersweet. It was bittersweet to watch like that. And now I'll ask you guys a question. We talked about Bentancur or whatnot. It's really the future, and all these transactions and transfers and everything is up in the air. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. And now, with the possibility of Europa League, whatnot, the scope of the roster and all that hangs in the balance. I would expect some exits for sure. We were expecting certain exits even if we made Champions League.
Yep.
Some high-profile exits.
Yep.
Given the choice, Rabiot at this current wage and what we've seen, keep or sell?
I'm keeping.
100% keeping. But I have to say, because in this point we have to be realistic, if we do sell, I'd say anything under 40 I wouldn't take.
Yeah,
I know he's not worth that, but I think you could try and make, even if it's 20 with like a player involved in the trade, you know what? I think he's capable.
Is he on your guys' untouchable list?
No. If you get the right offer, you take it.
Yeah,
you have to.
Like,
especially if you're in Europa League, you have to take whatever's going to bring you money.
That's a better way of saying it. He's not.
And that's the shame of kind of where we're in, because honestly, like,
but that goes for anybody.
But the guys that came in on freeze are public enemy number one in terms of when it comes down to high wages, and if an offer comes in, it's straight to the books. Because if we do miss out on Champions League, that negative of 200 mil becomes 300 mil. We still need to come up one way or another with a big chunk of coin by the end of June. So yeah, it's tough if an offer comes in for him. Yeah, and Rabiot and Matt Montesano. Rabiot offers the highest plus Valenza potential.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Out of all guys, right?
Yeah.
So,
but now I'm curious. Bentancur came in with that was with the was it not Vidal, the Tevez swap, right? That was with
Bentancur.
Bentancur came in on the Tevez deal. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And Juve has just solidified, like, quite a ways back, getting rid of that clause where they
Okay.
Yeah.
So
with percentage of the sale, right?
Is that considered a free move? I mean, we did give up a player for it, but we didn't really pay for him, did we?
Good point.
That's a question.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's. I'm just curious now for my own.
I would think that would be considered a free move, wouldn't it?
Technically, yeah. Because we didn't really, but we gave away. I don't know.
But
no, I think there's some funds involved there that are tied into.
Yeah, because we had to get rid of that clause
contract and whatnot. I think it was a small fee somewhere, like 12 mil. Like, it's small.
Yeah, to get rid of the clause, I think that was it. But either way, even if it was a free, let's say, I think Rabiot still gets a bigger chunk, 100%. I know Bentancur is younger, and whatever you want to say about potential, but we all know realistically that Rabiot could be sold for more.
But even Bentancur's potential, like, I'm sure it's, there's still something there, but I think he's a lot more limited skill wise when you compare him to Rabiot, even though he might be a couple years younger, whatever. But I still think that. Yeah, skill wise, I see more skill in Rabiot than I do in Bentancur.
Yeah,
I think he's a
I
little
agree.
more one dimensional. His passes clearly are not great, whether that's a mental thing or whatever. But even going forward, he doesn't look like he has that creativity or willingness to run at defenders, kind of like Rabiot does,
or take the shot on net,
or obviously Rabiot's better aerial in the air. I just think if you do get a decent offer for Bentancur, you would definitely look at that as well. I don't know.
Yeah. And this is the thing. And first of all, like, everybody that's joining us live, whatnot, Rabiot, keep or sell. Just quickly put it down in the chat. We're going to kind of move along here, but guys that you would consider untouchable. Your list on untouchable. I'm asking everybody right now your untouchable list, and there's some people joining us on the live here that we haven't seen in a while, which is great. So, guys, throw your untouchable list here. Your lists on guys that, regardless of the offer.
Luca, you go first. I gotta think.
I was in the chat last time he asked this. Who do I put?
It's a pretty short list.
Pretty short. It's a 3-person list for me. It's Chiesa, De Ligt, and I think I put Danilo. I put Danilo. The third one was in Danilo, I think it was Danilo.
You can get Quad in there probably.
Quad is Quad. I was debating now Quad because
for a utility guy, like, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? If a good offer comes in again, like, I love him, but for me, the 100% untouchable are De Ligt and Chiesa.
Yeah.
100%.
But if we're going to talk utility guys and you want to keep one utility guy, Quadrado is definitely the guy you keep as a utility guy above Bernardeschi.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm saying right now it's between Danilo and Quadrado, not Bernard.
Oh, no. But in the grand scheme, I think my list kind of expands to probably Quad, Danilo, De Ligt, Chiesa.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to add one more, and I know I'm going to get hate for this one. I'm adding Kulu to my list.
Kulishevsky. There you go.
Oh, fuck.
I thought he played well yesterday,
Okay. We didn't discuss this for the second half, and I want to chime in because first half, he did have good movement. He did play his role well. I think he should have finished that chance he had. That was very unlucky of him. But again, I think it's because he's still young. In the second half, he was making silly mistakes. He was taking terrible first touches, and I think I'm glad he came off because I think he was going to come off anyways.
He was also on a card, so he had to come off.
Yeah. So that's it. So for me, it was a good move, but I think there's so much more he can do, and he could get better. But I don't see him as untouchable. I think if you could get a good, I know we paid 40 for him, but like if we can get him maybe on loan too.
I think if you get him in the right position, he can be a dangerous player. Same with Dybala, and I think Dybala is going to be the one who's gone, and Kulu will be the one staying. As much as I want Dybala, as much as I like Dybala, I think he's gone.
I don't want to say it. I don't want to admit it.
I know. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
We'll get there.
Hamza coming in here saying keep Rabiot with a decent backup. I think he would surprise us. AJ saying I would sell every midfielder if a good offer arrives, including McKennie. McKennie wasn't on our untouchable list. I think you'll listen to him for sure. Untouchable list: David, Rafaro, Chiesa, and De Ligt. Two-man list. Sammy coming in here with De Ligt, Danilo, Quad, and Chiesa.
They're all very similar.
Anthony coming in with Dybala, De Ligt, Chiesa.
I like Anthony.
with the Dybala thing, and I think the only reason I haven't even entered him because everybody knows how I feel about Dybala.
Yeah,
I think the relationship's damaged.
Yeah,
I think the relationship's gone. I'm hoping at this point that we don't lose him on a free.
Yes,
because I think that's
what it's looking like, though, and it's really bothering me.
That would be massive if we end up losing this guy on a free. So I would love nothing more than Dybala to stay and continue to be a part of this club and whatnot. But again, the relationship's rocky, and it has been for a bit here. And this extension, like, it should never take this long, you know?
So now here's my question. If, let's say, we go through a little bit of a shakedown this summer, somehow Dybala stays and we change our sporting director, you think, let's say for shits, Allegri comes in, we get a new sporting director. You think he stays? I think they can extend him then.
So hold on, Lucas. So Allegri comes in?
Yeah. So let's say the relationships that were like ruined, as you're speaking of, because in my mind, I don't think, let's say, Agnelli has a say in this, because when it comes to player salary and like extending, I don't think he's really too much involved. I think it comes either down to like either Nedved or Paratici maybe. Mm-hmm. But if those relationships that we speak of are broken, because I have a feeling Paolo, the way we see him, still loves the club. I think it just comes down to that relationship, as you said, with the hierarchy. So if that hierarchy changes for one that favorites him, then what?
Maybe a change. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
You're pumping me up, you magnificent bastard. What you done, Luca?
Because let's be realistic here. Europa League, there's a very good odd that Ronaldo leaves. And if Ronaldo leaves, then Dybala is the main guy again, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree. So that if Dybala does end up staying, then you got to re-sign him as soon as the season starts. You can't let it go throughout this. You have to do it first thing right away. Yeah, that's and I'm okay with that. I'm totally fine with that. But I think Ronaldo or Dybala, one of them's got to go. It's just that simple.
Yeah,
now,
we both know. Yeah,
because that's another thing we've been saying is you can't lose both.
Yeah,
you can't lose both. That's massive. But now, now we get into the unfortunate possibility of Europa League football.
God damn.
Now, what does that change? And somebody even raised the question, earlier here in the chat that we were waiting for, and it's who's willing to play Europa League?
Oh, I can answer this one 100%.
Oh,
De Ligt will do it. I know it's salary, but we'll pay his salary. The man loves his club. You see it in the way he talks. I would put money on De Ligt. Paolo, maybe if you extend, because I think, again, speaking of the situation, I think, again, he loves the club. Chiesa, too, he looks like a man who's involved. And you know what? Danilo and Cuadrado, those are guys that I feel like they would play for this club. Yeah.
I think you're pretty spot on with that.
Yeah, I think
Even Morata, if Morata ends up staying.
Is that what I don't know?
What was that?
Morata, if he ends up staying, I think he'd be okay with Europa League.
Honestly, the thing with Morata is when the club's starting to even second guess whether a 10 million euro loan is even something they want to do the next season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think this may be in Morata's hands.
Yeah,
based on some of his performances as of late. Like he hit the ground running, had a little bit of slump, started to come back, but then just faded. Just faded hard, right?
Yeah, but then the question becomes, who do we get?
That's
because
right.
10 mil is a small sum to pay for a decent striker. No.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Europa League, like honestly, I think you touched on it and nailed it on the head. I think it's going to have more to do. I don't think some of these players are going to be really concerned. I think like Juve will get it back into the Champions League next season if we fall out this year. And I think a lot of how the players are going to feel and everything that's going to happen is going to rely on who they hire at the coaching position and what ends up happening with the board. So Luca nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
You've got to correct something that's been an issue for quite some time now. You know, we really dove into this on the Match Day Live yesterday before the match, and I started just talking about all the scenarios along the line for years now where this management would lead players who are employees of the club to really doubt them and really lose faith. The list of moves and decisions and whatnot that have been made it's a big list. I didn't even touch on all of them. I just had to stop because it was so long, and I wanted to start getting the guests in there because, like, literally, like, there's a long line dating back 4 or 5 seasons even of moves that they do that if you were a player, you would really question this management and what they're doing, you know, and player treatment falls into that. Hiring of managers, the absolute scramble that they're in and no set plan. And even this season, the organization, everything. It literally seems like the guys at the top aren't even on the same page.
Yeah.
And then it just trickles down. And if you were a player, you'd be thinking like, what the hell is going on here? So in terms of our players, regardless if it's Europa League, a lot of it's going to have to do with who comes in.
And I think that's going to be tough.
They got to create the stability. And I think at the board, you need full-scale change.
Yeah.
You need to get a fresh approach in there. And I don't know if we start to make it a little bit easier. Maybe we have too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. And maybe you just get one right mind and he's got his guys, you know, his right-hand man and whatnot that he could kind of work with and whatnot. Maybe we've just got the personalities there are starting to clash and they've had a difference of opinion dating back to Allegri's being let go. Once Allegri was let go there, that move, it dates back there. And there's even moves prior to that that affect all this, you know. And now to right the ship, the rumors, you know, are Allegri is waiting for Madrid. He's going to get first offer. There's 3 names apparently shortlisted for the Madrid job. We've seen the pictures of Cherubini at the beginning of the weekend. Sitting there with Fabio Grosso and Allegri. You know, Zidane obviously would be leaving Madrid or whatnot. Factoring in where this team stands right now, you know, and I know we're always in on this chat, you know, in our team chat about is Zidane, Allegri, some of these possible other options. If Allegri comes back, is Allegri your top choice right now? In terms of what the team needs, where we're at and whatnot, or are you still leaning towards Zidane? My heart's telling me Zidane. My mind is maybe leaning more towards Allegri. Yeah, so your guys' thoughts on that? We'll kick it off with Daniel.
Yeah, I agree with you, Al. I think you just got to go back to Allegri because of it. You're aware of his style more. You know what he's going to bring you. He knows, you know, he obviously knows the team well. He knows some of the players. For me, I don't know. I I'm not sold on Zidane just yet. I know everyone praises him, and he's been great with Madrid over, countless years. But when you compare that squad to our squad, it's a lot more work. And I don't know if he's going to be able to. He's going to want to be able to deal with that, or if he can deal with that. I honestly don't think you can go wrong either way. It'll probably be a step up regardless. But I think I just go more towards Allegri just because of the stability, and what you're what you're gonna get.
Yeah, Luca.
For me, it's a 50-50 straight across, because where I see pros for one, I see the same for the other. Like if the amount of pros for one are the same amount of pros as the other, and the same goes for the cons. You can make that argument that Allegri could do a lot with very little, but then you can make that argument saying that he's part of the issues that we have today, right? And I'll be the first to voice that. Like there's some long-lasting effects that he was part of, not really exactly his fault, but like he has left on the club. Then there's a look at Zidane where it's a new start, it's a fresh start. But he's also very similar in the sense that he's got some experience, so we could rely on that. But like you said, it's a new club, it's a lot of new players and shittier players than Madrid, so it's a lot of work. And also the fact that he's very similar, I'd say, in personality to how Pirlo is now. He's a quiet coach. He's not yelling much on the bench. He's very methodical. So I think there's a lot of pros, a lot of cons. In my mind, I think the salary is what's going to make a difference. I think Allegri will be totally okay coming in with, Europa. But then again, I brought this up with you guys the other day. I think any coach seeing a team like Juventus that's won 9 years, I think for them it's scarier coming in trying to get that 10th cup than it is, let's say, coming in the Europa League and trying to build them up again. Because let's be honest, the bar is really freaking low right now. So for any coach that comes in, it's a decent challenge because they can easily step it up, I think. But if you come in and let's say, they're on their 9th championship, it's pretty hard to keep it up, to keep and maintain that, get that 10th. So maybe it's more attractive for, both of them to come in. In this case, maybe financially, I think it's probably going to be leaning towards Allegri. But personally, I think maybe a fresh start is needed. Maybe Zidane is the right call. But if we really want to be honest with ourselves, I think Zidane was needed 2 years ago after Allegri. But you know what? At this point, whatever comes, I think we'll work with it and we'll make the best out of it. And either are good with me.
Yeah, and I think for me, like some of these comments coming in are great too, because this one, it just really, really resonates with Matt Montesano. Their gut says Zidane.
Yeah, exactly.
But calm mind says Allegri. And honestly, I think when we look at this team, it's a lot of it I still feel is just that lack of drive, determination, focus. Like we slipped up. This Inter, and we've shown this Inter, man, we lost this one. We lost this one. We lost our 10th in a row. It's not like everybody really expanded. We dropped the ball completely, and it started, whether it's management, whoever, we dropped the ball. When you look at this team, when you're not getting drive, that focus, that hunger, whatnot, I'm questioning if Zidane's the right guy. That's when I start to really ask the question, because I think Zidane would be better suited to something that's a little bit more established.
Yeah.
And I think he would be great if we had all cylinders kind of firing in terms of all the other aspects, and he could come in, and just be like, okay, these guys are comfortable, confidence decent, whatnot. They're working hard. We just need to sort out the thing. When you're not even getting the work rate, that's got to go a little bit deeper. And then I can't help but think about Allegri over his time and being such a smooth transition from Conte, who's the ultimate motivator. We went into Allegri and we never skipped a beat in terms of the hunger, the desire, the drive, the motivation and stuff. And he did always keep that up. Towards the end, it was fading towards the end in his last season too, his last season and a half. But again, we're starting to ask questions of some of these guys that core was fading at that time too, right? We haven't replaced those guys with probably the right guys that we should have. Like, where's the next wave of leaders? There's a big drop there from guys like Buffon, Chiellini, you know, like the BBC. Like, there's a big drop off there from those guys to some of the newer leaders, right? De Ligt will be there, no question, you know. But even in a guy like Dybala, there's a drop off there from some of those guys and how they operate and how they run themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my mind's telling me Allegri. The concerns Luca kind of touched on. There are some issues that kind of came from that, some extensions that were his guys that we shouldn't. So all of a sudden, if he comes in with a Ferguson-esque role, that's maybe a little concerning too.
Yeah, because then he's going to sign Quadrado to a 4-year contract.
Well, if you get, you know, and again, there's rumors of Luis Campos, whatever. If you get a good, solid director, whatnot, you know, and the two are on the same page, they can hopefully align, and hopefully we can have some harmony rather than the disconnect we have been seeing. You know?
Yeah.
The main thing is just building a solid team that actually shares the same views in terms of the team building aspect and whatnot, and everybody's on the same page. Because when you hear that your board is having an argument in a fucking parking lot about whether a coach should be fired or not, it starts to get a little embarrassing.
Okay, but...
And then you have Sarri, who one of them saying, no, we got to keep him because we don't have time. And the other saying, well, no, we need a coaching change. And then you have your president pulling his man out of a hat that doesn't even have a coaching ticket. The disconnect is there. The disconnect is real. Needs to be dealt with. 100%. 100%. So Allegri, here's my question, because everybody's like Pirlo out, no question, regardless what happens. Whatever. There's people saying he doesn't even, like, he shouldn't even be sticking around. He shouldn't even go to U23s. I want to ask you guys about Pirlo's future. Would you be all right with him being on as an assistant to whoever comes in? Do you think he should go to U23s? Do you think we should cut ties completely? Because there's a lot of fans that just say, I will never see him cook, because he's left such a sour taste in people's mouths. I'll never see him coaching Juve ever again. Like, it's done, dusted, not even with the U23s. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that and what's next for Pirlo once it's done here.
I'd be fine with him staying, whether that's assistant or U23. I don't see that's much of a problem. Although, you know, he has shown it. You know, he's very naive in certain situations and some of his tactics. I think that's more again. We blame the management for that. That's not really on him. He's still learning as the season progresses. Again, you know, are you really going to expect, if someone offers you a job and paying you a couple mil, are you going to turn it down, even though, you know, you've never done it before? Probably not. Yeah. Could I see him being an assistant to Allegri or Zidane? Yeah. I don't think I don't think it would hurt him. And I don't think it would really hurt the club that much either if he stuck around. I have no issue with it.
Yeah. Luca, your thoughts?
Personally, I don't think he'll want to stick around. I think he's just put 20 years on his life right now. He's exhausted, if you ask me. But if you're asking, do I think he should? Let's be realistic here. Allegri, he's not only played for, so he has a great relationship. We know that. But like even Zidane, I think they're very similar in what they expect and how they are in terms of strategy. So I think it's a win-win if he stays on the bench, because let's be honest, he's going to be a better assistant than Tudor was this year. At least he'll have more of a say, and at least you're having some, you know, like consistency from the season before. You're not completely wiping away all the staff, right? Yeah. So for me, I think as an assistant, if they could pull that off, because his salary isn't that high, let's be real, I think it's okay. U23, maybe he might not want to, you know, go down. I think at that point he might take a job, maybe like for one of the lower teams, maybe just to restart. But I think realistically, I think he just won't be around. I think he'll take a year off maybe, but I would not be against him staying 100%. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing is, the question becomes, would he accept that? Would he accept the demotion or whatnot? But honestly, I think it would be massive for him. But who knows? Who knows what he would do? I think I'd be fine with it. Like people that are saying, get rid of him completely. I think it's a little harsh. I think it's a little harsh because I think we have to have the perspective of the situation he was brought into. Again, said it right from the get-go. My expectations this year were like square one. When you have a guy he didn't even have his ticket when he got hired. For me, I'm not going to put the gun to his head, so to speak. I'm going to look at management and raise big questions. And that's what I did at the start. I said, why is a club with our resources at a position where we're hiring a guy that doesn't have a ticket? That's literally like, okay, he's been a legend as a player, but we know that doesn't always translate into managing. But that's like literally walking out on the street and being like, hey, man, you want to coach Juve? Cool. Here, I got a job for you. Regardless of his history, and like I know people have used that too. Well, he was a legend, he was a great midfielder, and he was around all these great coaches. It's not the same. Just isn't the same.
Times have changed too.
Times have changed. It isn't the same. You see the game differently from the sideline than you do as a player.
Yep.
Also, how are you thinking about it? You think differently as a manager. You have to gain that experience. Allegri, for his Sky interview that he did right in the heat of all this chaos, was spot on when he said, you don't go to a course and just figure out how to be a manager.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't just go a course, read a book, and then know. He's like, you have to go in these situations. And he's like, at times you have to fail. He's like, you have to fail. You have to go through those hardships to learn. And that's what it is. Now, Matt brings in a great question. This is where we're going to wrap up today. Do you sack Pirlo without the possibility of Zidane or Allegri for the likes of, say, a Gattuso, an Inzaghi, Mihalovic has been put out there or whatnot? So do you sack Pirlo if Zidane or Allegri are not an option?
No.
Interesting.
Well, just to make it clear, I don't think Gattuso would come to us, especially when he probably is going to get Napoli in a UCL spot, and we won't. Inzaghi, I think maybe. I don't like the idea.
I don't like Inzaghi.
I don't like the idea, but I think that might be a possibility because at least he's shown some sort of, success. So he might. Mihalovic, I think at that point, keep Pirlo. Same with Gattuso. I would rather just keep him at this point. I think I'd rather just bet on the consistency of a 2-year, hopefully he rebounds, because when was the last time we gave a coach more than 1 year,
True.
So I think maybe bank on that, a good preseason. But then again, I think Al said this the other day, with the Euros coming, it's not like he's going to get too much time with a lot of players, There's a lot of guys that are going to be called up because, let's be honest, we have a lot of guys playing for the national team. So, I mean, it obviously will give him more, but I don't think it's going to be as much as we hope for. But in the end, my point is to say, if it's someone like Gattuso or Mihalovic, I say stick with Pirlo. Inzaghi, I see maybe a little bit notch higher than Pirlo, so maybe go with him. But I don't know. It's very touchy.
This is it's tough, man. That's a really, really tough question for me to answer.
Yeah,
it really is, because I'm torn. I'm torn on the stability and creating some type of consistency and stability from season to season. At the same time, man, his stubbornness in things that haven't worked has also really left a sour taste too. So it's like I'm so torn, right? And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. But at the same time, with these expectations that have kind of been relieved, so to speak, you go into a season fresh. I don't know. This is a hard one. I also don't see the trade-off. I don't see the trade-off there for going Pirlo to Gattuso.
There isn't. I don't see one.
Pirlo to Mihalovic.
No.
we're not taking a massive step up in my personal opinion. So I'm torn. I'm really torn on this one. Gun to my head, I'm maybe saying no. And I do like I do like this call, man.
Yes.
Get an experienced person.
Allegri would never come in.
Tudor to me, like Tudor was brutal on his own.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I got sucked into the unbearable army of nostalgia with him being associated with Pirlo and coming in here and whatnot. But
who was that was rumored
to run the defense, and we've seen the gaps there and everything too. That you could see it, and if you take screenshots of matches, you see the unorganization. It's crazy. So there's concerns there too. Maybe that's a better play. I don't know. My personal preference, obviously, get a top tier manager for this club.
Mm-hmm.
Get a new board. Go from there.
Like we were discussing earlier in the season a few months ago, Lippi would have been perfect as some kind of role in this club, whether that's an assistant manager, whether that's director of something. He would have helped Pirlo so much with his experience, with the players, the way he's just known the game for how many years. Yes, he might be a little old school, but he's won. Like, you can't replace that type of experience. That's why he would have been perfect to come in and help in some way. Again, when it comes back to Gattuso, I don't think he's any better than Pirlo. Like, the Napoli squad that squad has been together for so many years. The bulk of that team has been together for years. They know how to play with each other. They got, chemistry. Whereas this team, we've added how many players this summer? Players are getting older. Another new coach, and Inzaghi, he's another one who's stuck in his ways. He'll never change that 3-5-2 formation.
See, that's why.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't see that as any step up. And Mihalovic, forget about it. I don't see that happening either. But that's me.
Question. Gasperini is the ideal candidate, especially without Champions League. He would be control over the Mercato, however, like any half-decent manager. But we all know Juve. Gasperini, man, no better candidate, and he would kill for Juve. Born and bred Juventino.
Can I do it?
Thoughts on this as we wrap up, and I might just sit back and enjoy the show because Luca's raring to go here.
I like the shout out. We all know he'd be a great add to the team. But why would he leave? Why? We can't afford. We can't give him more money because we can't afford it. And his team finished above us this season, and then last season they finished above us in the Champions League. I see Atalanta right now as a better team and giving him what he needs. So why would he? I just don't see it happening. I have better chance of getting Guardiola right now. So I think yes, good idea, but it won't happen. It's not.
AJ is making me laugh here. No, I don't like managers who are 95 and have never won a trophy.
That's good. That's good.
All right,
Daniel, your thoughts on Gasperini?
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of his. I know, he's another one who's stuck in his ways. Like, he plays one certain way. He'll never change from that. That system, again, that team has, they go out and play one way. They don't really adapt much. So how is that going to help you? Yes, sometimes they'll put in 4, but sometimes they'll concede 5. Like, is that what we really want to do? I don't know.
This Champions League was a moment where the light kind of turned on for me because it was like he had a team that was ripe for the picking, and he didn't adapt.
Yes,
to take them out, and he ended up getting knocked out, but by a team that I thought he should have. He should have beat. Yep, he should have had his guys like that, and he didn't make the changes necessary. And he's just really, really stuck on that one. Like, this is it. That's it.
Exactly.
And also, like, are we going to be able to give this guy control over? Like, I'd feel more confident in somebody else getting control over Mercato than potentially Gasperini. And I don't know. I don't.
And the other thing, I think he'd need a couple years to get his system in. Like, we see how long Atalanta has taken to progress.
Yep.
And do we really want to give them that kind of time? Whereas if you bring in Zidane or Allegri, they're willing to work with kind of what they have and kind of somewhat get the best out of that. So
and I think Allegri's, I think you're spot on. I think Allegri's the key guy there. And this is why, again, the mind starts to say Allegri, because I think the turnaround will be a hell of a lot quicker. Yeah. Because he can work with what he has more.
You got to be careful here, because someone I think brought up in the chat before, if you look at Allegri and Zidane, when they took over their respective teams, they had a setup already there for them. Allegri had something decent after.
Oh yeah, he took
and
over.
So did Zidane. So
it was one of our best Juve sides ever.
That's what I'm saying. So yes, we know they could do a lot with very little, but they both had good setups already. Now they're coming to a dumpster fire. Let's be real. So it's very going to be a test for both of them, I think.
Of course. He did also, however, do quite well with like a midfield that had no substitute for an entire
that I'll agree with. I think,
and like some pretty poor guys in there too.
Yeah, no, I
can't see Gasperini getting the same success rate with some of those guys, to be honest. Like I don't know. I also like how Allegri can do it on the fly during a match. Right. That was the part I really appreciated. I did appreciate about him is he could make a change mid-game that would change the entire scope. And he never cared. He never cared if it was 15th minute, 27th, like whatever. He would make that switch if he saw he needed to. And that was the one thing I did appreciate about him that, I don't think you get with a guy like Gasperini in our position with some of the players we have or not. I think you need as much flexibility as possible for the time being, right?
I seriously will die on the mountain saying that De Zerbi would have been a great addition after Pirlo. If, let's say, we couldn't get like Allegri or Zidane, he's taken that Sassuolo team and done amazing things with it. And he, very much like Allegri, makes those subs at any point in the game if he thinks it's like, and he'll go out for it. Like against us this week, you saw it. He knew he was down. He's like, I'm just going to go all out. And he got the goal, but unfortunately, we were lucky and, we pounced on his weak defense. So I'm just going to die on that one. I'm going to bring it up again because I think he was a great shout if we could have.
So
I think
go ahead, Daniel.
I just his experience again would hinder this team a little bit.
Yeah, that too, obviously.
Or his lack of experience, I should say.
But versus Pirlo's, I mean,
is he really? Is he that much ahead of a Pirlo? Is he like he? I would put him more in the same bracket as an Inzaghi or a Gattuso.
So that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna make me pick between Gattuso, Inzaghi, and Mihalovic, I'll go like De Zerbi at that point. At least
is he not? And he's going to Shakhtar, right?
It's more or less something like it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a strange one. So
that is very,
we really opened up something here with this whole Gasperini thing now because Keelan's coming in here saying agreed, but we need a system manager. You guys see the chaos in squad building and recruitment. We need structure, no? And that could be an argument. However,
it goes higher.
But you need structure in the organization.
Yeah, it goes higher than just a manager.
Yeah, so it's a tough one. It's a tough one for sure. He does bring up Mourinho's quote about Gasperini and just saying it's a myth. He's not adaptable. AJ coming in was saying getting Allegri doesn't mean that we will win everything. But at least it gives us a long-term project where we know the moment we get him his players, we can overachieve.
And I'm not going to shit on AJ here because I know he's very much Allegri. But you could say the same about Zidane. You give him the players, and we've seen what he could do with it. I mean, obviously, it was a prime Madrid. So.
Well, that's the thing, too. We won't be able to come. And that's the same argument that gets held against Pep Guardiola's.
Yeah, well, that's
We're not going to go out and drop $400 million on a roster.
Right.
So
right.
Is there a point in bringing
Allegri, we don't know what his roster is going to cost. We don't know that. We've never seen it.
Last, certainly not least, do we have more faith in Milan losing to Cagliari and Atalanta, or do we have more faith in Hellas Verona they're taking points from Napoli next week when they have nothing to play for?
Fuck.
Dan, go for it.
Oh, man. Is Hellas Verona still somewhat in the Europa League fight?
No, dude, they have nothing to play for.
They got nothing. And the thing is, I think if Milan end up losing somehow, some way to Cagliari today, I think Atalanta will just not even show up. I don't know. That's just me. I feel like Gasperini is just gonna be an ass and be like, forget you guys, we saw, didn't they win the first game 4-0 or something? They smashed Milan in the first game. So
Benevento's up 1-0 at halftime right now to Crotone. what does this even mean? Who cares? Well, Benevento could, in theory, make a situation where Cagliari would get relegated. So Cagliari
Big game for
does
them.
got to go big today.
And Cagliari is what, undefeated in the last like 6-7 games, I think, too.
5 or 6, I think it was.
Oh, it's getting tasty, guys.
So they're on 3 wins and 2 draws, I know for sure, in their last 5. So Forza Cagliari today, and maybe Atalanta.
Rugani winning goal.
But I think Verona.
Rugani's been on the bench.
Wow. Sub him in.
Verona in a game that they don't need nothing or care to take something from Napoli to, I don't know. It's looking bleak, guys, but let's hang on to that last remaining thread of hope for Champions League. But man, who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? But guys, this was a solid episode. Thanks to two awesome guests here, Luca and Daniel. Thanks to everybody in the live. The chat was amazing today, and we'll probably dive into Gasparini a little more, and we'll be doing a recap thing with a panel too. So stay tuned, and of course, we'll be doing the pre-match live and a post-match for the Coppa Italia final. Hopefully, Juve takes a trophy home there. Be nice to at least get that on the kit for next season. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you all soon. And please like the video, subscribe if you're not, and check out the sponsors, Striped Hearts Apparel. There's some wicked deals on right now, and some sale items, and an extra additional 10% using code ADP10 for the anniversary 10 year of Del Piero. Farewell. Thanks again, everybody. And as always, no matter what, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.